We don't really like calling it an MMO because it has a lot of connotations to it. There's no levels, there's no sort of like learning of skills and grinding and stuff like that. You're basically in a huge open world of thousands of islands, and you're basically dumped in this world. You don't really have a bearing on where you are. It's all about understanding the world and sort of finding a place there. So you kind of like draw the maps, or you and a group of other players. You're essentially sort of building ships to fly between these islands, and sort of you'll discover ruins and sort of temples and stuff like that. And we haven't got the wildlife in there yet, but we're kind of currently building that. Through kind of going around discovering and finding sort of secrets and stuff like that, you actually be able to build stronger airships and kind of fly further into different regions of the world. It's essentially this freedom of movement. You just inspired kind of like Skies of Arcadia and Wind Waker. In the distance you just see like an island out there, and knowing that you can go there and it's your choice, you can just, and you never know what you might run into. It could be other players, it could be particularly dangerous wildlife, because the server we're having, the server sort of technology we're using, essentially has infinite space to expand. So the world could end up being just thousands of kilometers with tens of thousands of islands. You might not even see them all. At every island there could be players, there could be the ecosystem's gone run amok, so there could be sort of much more powerful creatures there than you would want. So even stuff like, we have, obviously there's networked physics, so you kind of share everything that happens like that, and because it is a crafting game, you do collect resources. Now the actual mechanics of like cutting a little bit like you're just clicking right now, there will be a little bit more involved, but it's taking those kind of, if we are going to harvest sort of trees for wood, how can you make it just more interesting? The idea that it is still slightly dangerous and could fall on you, and you know, it's a little bit more involved. And then those trees will be gone, and anyone sort of coming up to this island later will see the results of this. So everything is persistent in the world. Anyone arriving here in a few months' time or weeks' time will just simply see the trees as they are. The technology lets everything persist. The big thing for us, which is, again, you know, don't like to use the word MMO, but everyone always wanted a way that their actions affect the world, and it's never really been possible, not without a little bit forced sort of things. So in this world, everything you do leaves a mark. So simply by the act of cutting down trees, you're kind of telling a story of like when you arrived and started to carve up this particular island, and then so everything you kind of do like has a mark. If you crash a ship, if you lose an engine and it lands on an island, it will stay there, and someone can come by and take it for themselves and just attach it to their own ship. Here we have like a little camp set up, and that's kind of obviously the art's kind of not really final with these things. We still got to sort of redo some of the designs of things, but so that you know, I think we sort of placed these earlier in the week, but they're still there now, and any sort of parts we've like left sort of remain. We do have the grappling hook, which is on right mouse, so if I just click, it will just attach where my cursor is pointing, but if I hold it down, it will lock the camera, and I can attach anyway, so I can attach up to that tree up there, or that branch, or over there. Now at the moment it does instantly appear, but we haven't got the sort of firing sort of animation for it. What it allows you to do is essentially be Spider-Man, and just choose where you want to actually attach. So I can just say get rid of there and then swing off to that, attach that tree there. And you can rope in and create slack and let go, and then potentially, whoop, not hit anything. But what it lets us do, because we're all like, it's physics based, and if I just like spin there, I can kind of like spin myself. Then open my sort of paraglider there. You are using sort of like momentum and physics and stuff like that. So we find most people just kind of collide into a rock and knock themselves out like that. And the rope's all physical as well, so if I attach to this sort of tree, I'm going to walk over here, it will like, I can create a little web wrapping around the trees, just for no other reason, then why not? And obviously if I'm like kind of swinging at speed, that will, if I wrap around something, it will obviously cause momentum, and I can sort of slingshot myself. You can like lose resources if you're not careful, because it's physics, so it's like, oh well, there we go, there we've just lost an entire tree, so go us. What you'll be doing essentially in the game is finding you start the game stranded on an island, and you can sort of build like a rudimentary dinghy of some kind, like a basic ship. And then you're able to basically pick a destination. You can see islands sort of like dotting the skyline, and you just head towards them. When you find sort of here, we've got some ruins. We haven't got the systems in place, but you're able to, every island will have like a finite amount of resources for you to scan, and that gives you kind of knowledge, which in turn allows you to kind of generate schematics, which could be new equipment, like the hang glider, it could be new weapons, new engines, stuff like that. So you see here, I took a picture of me taking a selfie of the island, and I put that picture on my ship. So it's like this weird picture of a picture. But this is like the kind of player storytelling we want to push, because it's persistent. We might crash this ship later on or something like that, and as a player you can arrive on an island and actually find a picture frame that someone's taken and a picture they've taken, and it's not a thing we've planted as developers. That's someone just they have the tools to take a picture, they have the tools to make a camera. And if they've crashed their ship in some way, you can go through the wreckage of a ship and actually sort of almost discover the story of their adventure, I guess. Okay. So obviously there will be like different biomes in the game, but right now they're just kind of mixing together. Later on there'll be the huge storms that divide the world into regions. So if you want to hit the desert lands, you're going to have to bust through a huge sandstorm, and your ship has to be powerful enough to basically fly through that. If I'm zooming with my candid camera, I can kind of like just catch glimpses of other players just, exploring around. I can maybe snap a picture of them and then leave the picture somewhere where they might be walking by and just sort of be creeped out that like someone has been watching them as they go about exploring. So right now I am just cheating in like all of our materials, and none of the actual material balancing is there at all. So when we talk about sort of being careful with crafting and how we play with physics, is if I'm going to build an engine, once it's actually crafted, it enters the world as like a physical object. The building is all completely cooperative. So wherever Enrique is, if he comes over here and actually gives me a hand. So now I've just basically lost that engine because it's now just off. If I try and reel it, it's just much heavier than me, so it's just going to pull me along.
Whereabouts? I can help you. Oh, okay, I know.
Yeah, and it basically when a ship is docked to the shipyard here, it has like a sphere of influence. This lets you pick up objects and basically strap it onto the ship. Now, if an engine, for example, has has that gone down a hill and off the island? I think it might have done that. I think it found a hole.
Is there a hole there?
Yeah, I think that's gone. If we pretend that like this was blown off by someone, like hit by a cannon and sort of like just left behind. I'll try not to let it fall down an island thing.
What do you need crafting? Or
just build some cores and just make it flyable.
Okay.
I'm going to try to stop this thing. Whoop. Okay. Let's slow you down. That should be fine. Okay. So like getting it back up this. Oh.
I'm helping you out.
Alright, cheers. Yeah, just leave it there. That's cool. So like getting this up the hill would be a pain in the ass because it's a lot heavier than we are. We could maybe manage it with more people, but the technology that lets the ships fly, right now it's being suspended by the shipyard. In order for that thing to fly, we'd actually have to build a core. You attach these cores to a ship, and those are things you definitely want to sort of stay alive, but we can kind of play with the physics of the world, and this is kind of how we develop all our features. We sort of approach it in like, how can this be used in the most interesting ways? So while this thing is currently pretty heavy and I can kind of just about roll it, but it's going to be a bit annoying. I can build these little, not picture, I don't want to take a picture of it. I can build these little mini cores and I can attach it to this. The same thing, the same technology that basically lets ships float. So I can just attach mini ones, and then this engine is now weightless. So now I can actually move it. So if I was to have found this on an island somewhere, and I deem it sort of better than any of the engines I can build, I can be like, sweet, I'm taking this for myself. So I've attached these things on. I can use my grappling hook just to pull it back sort of into our little camp that we're building. Right, there's one. Oh Christ, that nearly killed me. That's cool. Right, so now that's, yeah. So, but those things can be attached to any object in the game. So when we were cutting down those trees earlier, I can attach those little mini cores to that and actually make that weightless. And you can use that like either for sort of bringing it back to camp, or you can use it as a weapon. You can drop it on top of something like that, because the ship cores can only hold a certain amount of weight. So you're balancing the sort of how much your ship can carry. So now right here, Enrique foolishly put all our cores, the most important part of the ship, because it's what keeps it afloat, put it on top deck. You probably don't want that. Now most ships will have multiple decks, this one doesn't, but you can still strap stuff to the bottom. So I've now kind of put that basically in the innards of the ship. And what I can do then is, if I sort of start building some metal panels, I can then basically strap that to the ship, and you'll see it will then bend around the hull. And that's basically how you create armor plating. That means that any kind of attackers, when you've eventually kind of plated up your whole ship, they're going to need to blast through the plating. So basically you have a certain component your ship needs, like a fuel tank, obviously engine, the cores to keep it afloat. What I built there was a respawn that's my name on it. And when I die, I'll respawn there. It's not, we don't really punish death so much. You will lose what's kind of like in your inventory. But you could go back to your body Dark Souls style and find all that stuff again. Unless of course you fell off an island, in which case, well then it's gone. So saying, yeah, you're free to, obviously everything still applies when a ship is moving. We've got Enrique sort of dangling off there now. We've got non helms that could be dangerous. You can move around, and you can obviously sort of jump off the ship, jump onto a ship. So there's complete freedom of movement. We can burn past another ship and actually jump off and just attach to it. There's no weird sort of like systems that let like ships dock together, or you know, like that's one of the things is like the Assassin's Creed Black Flag like boarding thing. You have to like hold B to board and all this stuff. This doesn't apply in this game. You can just sort of grab, jump onto anything that's moving and grapple onto it there. And the same thing is that like if the ship's flying, we can turn on the salvage. Now you can have explosives and stuff like that. But here you do have a little tool that can, it's the same thing you would use to harvest materials, it also harvests ship parts and stuff. So you get some little stowaway who's then just sort of like breaking off your engines, and that'll tumble, and again physics will take over and that'll just tumble off the island, and that's now gone. But you could have like, either you could do that just to stop the guy from moving, and now the ship is actually, if I hit forward now, the ship will just turn automatically because it's only got one engine, so it's not really able to fly properly. So you're kind of, you can get screwed over in that regard. You have to keep your speed down. But these little tools I can use earlier, so then if I was like, I want to steal this guy's engine, it's amazing, you could sneak aboard. Yeah, you've broken it off and it'll fall, and so you could, you know, you could lose it. But using a combination of these little cores I was using earlier, I can actually start to, so I've now already pre-attached them. And then are you going to crash us? And so now I can be like, right, I've already set it up for like stealing. So if he's not aware of me because he's too busy flying, I've now detached the engine, but it's not going to fall now because it's got the things attached to it. So I can then grab, and I'm getting away with it now, and I can have like maybe another ship below and slowly sort of parachute my way down using this engine I've just stolen from their ship. Take it with me and find my own ship and just attach it onto it.
So I can't fly anymore.
So he's definitely screwed now.
Yeah, kind of. I can still go up and down.
Yes, the cores will allow him sort of to raise and lower the ship. Yeah. And if we, I guess if we could try, we could drag the ship back to like a shipyard.
Or yeah.
If I
there is a chasm between us and our shipyard.
Hang on, I'll build a new one. I say build, I'll cheat myself a new one in the interest of time.
But we can drag the ship just as well.
So yeah, the ship can't move. But there should be enough of us. Everything in the world is a physical object, so if we use our combined might of pulling with ropes, we should be able to pull the ship over towards the shipyard. So it's always like salvageable. The ships are the one thing that when you lose them, they're gone. So they need to be kind of robust. So in this case, we can still save it. So we're just gonna, boom. So now we can, that engine I ripped off earlier, I just take off that core. Set the right note, don't roll away. Oh, hang on, it's damaged. So I need to repair it. Again, all the effects work is like super placeholdery, hence why you have the weird green glows and all that kind of stuff. We're just sort of getting the technology to play ball. So we're just repairing this thing up now. Sweet. And then I can just pick it up and because the ship's now docked to a shipyard, I can just bolt the engine back on, and ta-da, we can now kind of fly. We already had the throttle up, so we should probably turn that off. Whoop, there we go. Turn the engine off. Yeah, so those are kind of how we sort of play with all of the physics and the systems. And so eventually when you are flying through the storms and stuff, it's not necessarily a clear barrier. Is your ship heavy enough? Is it powerful enough to basically power through these sort of storms to new areas? So this is a much bigger ship. As you can see, it's got sort of multiple decks and lots and lots of space for stuff. That ship's just, well, it looks rubbish by comparison. And this is where the kind of the important stuff comes into. So you notice all the important stuff we kind of put below deck. We can look out the window and see sort of this person trying to fly his ship and failing at it. And so here we have the like respawners, and I can put my name there, and so you can see the members of the crew if this thing goes down. And you know, again, we've you know, for some reason we've built some cannons on the inside here and plated them up, but there could be like a gameplay reason for that, because you can be like, you know, someone sees a ship coming and goes, it's not heavily armed, but then you can, if I just start to fire at the inside of my ship, I'm just damaging the plate there, I can be like, haha, surprise, hidden cannon, and then start firing at someone out of a newly formed hole in my ship. Oh, he's constructing it, but that's fine. Yeah, and then you have storage crates, and there's more cannons down here, and you can place these wherever you want. So you can kind of create your own sort of battle cruiser, I suppose. You can put in, now the ship hull shaping stuff that we're developing at the moment will actually let you sort of define the shape of all of this, and where the kind of stairs are, and all this magical stuff. And we have all the ship instruments up here, so we were flying the helm earlier, but we didn't actually put on any sort of instruments. So the pilot kind of almost builds their own UI. So we've got the artificial horizon, we've got altitude meter there. If I sort of raise the ship up, you'll see that will sort of kind of counting up. We then got the fuel, we then got a heading, so we're like facing north. Then we've got speed. So if I crank the ship up, you'll start to see all the engines will come on, and we'll see the speed sort of start cranking up. This thing's massive and not subtle, so you ain't going to be very sort of secretive if you're flying around with this thing. But again, you can grab around. You can see like this kind of slingshot effect when like sort of rope sort of wraps around it. So you can see how boarding a ship like this as a pilot, like they're not going to know you're there, because you could be, it could be burning through the sky, and you're just sort of casually sort of dangling off. You could land on the wing and start sort of salvaging the metal plating.